here we have Rapunzel. There was once a man and his wife who had long wished in vain for a child, and at last they had reason to hope that heaven would grant their wish. There was a little window at the back of their house which overlooked a beautiful garden full of lovely flowers and shrubs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and nobody dared to enter it, because it belonged to a powerful witch who was feared by everybody. One day the woman, standing at this window and looking into the garden, saw a bed planted with beautiful rampion. I don't know what that is. I'm going to guess that's a flower and just keep going. It looks so fresh and green. Oh, okay, it's not a flower. I need to look that up. I apologize. I think that one's important. Please excuse me for just a second. And again, I didn't plan. Terrible. Really, it is a type of flower, but it's also an edible flower. Huh. I'm not really very familiar with it. I wonder if the flower part of it is edible, or if it's the, was once widely grown in Europe for its leaves, which were used like spinach, and its parsnip-like root, which was used like a radish. Oh. Oh, okay. So rampion is also called, and I can't quite pronounce this because it's Latin, I think. Campanula rapunculus, and that's where Rapunzel comes from. That's where the name Rapunzel comes from. Interesting. See, it was worth looking this up. So it's a flower that has a couple of edible parts, and the name was taken for this, the title of this story. Oh, that's awesome. I learned a thing. Okay, where was I? One day the woman, standing at this window and looking into the garden, saw a bed planted with beautiful rampion. It looked so fresh and green that she longed to eat some of it. This longing increased every day, and as she knew it could never be satisfied, she began to look pale and miserable and to pine away. Why'd she plant her own? Silly. Then her husband was alarmed and said, "What ails you, my dear wife?" "Alas," she answered, "if I cannot get any of the rampion to eat from the garden behind our house, I shall die." Her husband, who loved her, thought, "Before you let your wife die, you must fetch her some of that rampion, cost what it may." So in the twilight he climbed, the things that husbands do for their wives. So in the twilight he climbed over the wall into the witch's garden, hastily picked a handful of rampion, and took it back to his wife. What? Why doesn't he just cut the witch a deal? I mean, like any sensible man, go get a job, work for the witch to earn something for his wife. She immediately prepared it and ate it very eagerly. It was so very, very nice that the next day her longing for it increased threefold. She could have no peace unless her husband fetched her some more. So in the twilight he set out again, but when he got over the wall he was terrified to see the witch before him. "How dare you come into my garden like a thief and steal my rampion?" she said, with angry looks. "It shall be the worse for you." "Alas," he answered, "be merciful to me. I am only here from necessity. My wife sees your rampion from the window, and she has such a longing for it that she would die if she could not get some of it." The anger of the witch abated, and she said to him, "If it is as you say, I will allow you to take away with you as much rampion as you like, but on one condition. You must give me the child which your wife is about to bring into the world. I will care for it like a mother, and all will be well with it." I swear I don't think anybody quite had a theme in mind when they're reading these stories back to back. I didn't, because I haven't actually read this. Doesn't everybody kind of know the story? Okay. In his fear, the man consented to everything. That's not his choice. And when the baby was born, the witch appeared, gave it the name of Rapunzel, Rampion, and took it away with her. Oh, okay. So the child is named after the plant that the mother was. So was she like eating it every single day over at least 9 months? Which, I mean, so there's like a bunch of Rampion kind of imbued into the child. Rapunzel was the most beautiful child under the sun. When she was 12 years old, the witch shut her up in a tower which stood in a wood. Why? Why? It had neither staircase nor doors. How'd she get up there? It had neither staircase nor doors, but only a little window quite high up in the wall. How'd she get fed? When the witch wanted to enter the tower, she stood at the foot of it and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Oh, okay. Rapunzel had splendid long hair as fine as spun gold. As soon as she heard the voice of the witch, she unfastened her plaits and twisted her hair around a hook by the window. It fell 20 ells downwards, and the witch climbed up by it. I don't know what an ell is. Now, plaits is a kind of a part of hair, which I won't go look up because then I'd have to find a picture and kind of explain it. But I mean, it's a thing that I'd like to learn one day, just not right now. Maybe you would be more interested and can pause this and go look that up. It happened a couple of years later, so maybe she's 14 or so. It happened a couple of years later that the king's son rode through the forest and came close to the tower. From thence he heard a song so lovely that he stopped to listen. It was Rapunzel who, in her loneliness, made her sweet voice resound to pass away the time. The king's son wanted to join her, and he sought for the door of the tower, but there was none to find. He rode home, but the song had touched his heart so deeply that he went into the forest every day to listen to it. Once when he was hidden behind a tree, he saw a witch come to the tower and call out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then Rapunzel lowered her plaits of hair, and the witch climbed up to her. If that is the ladder by which one ascends, he thought, I will try my luck myself. Oh. And the next day, when it began to grow dark, he went to the tower and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The hair fell down, and the king's son climbed up it. Couldn't she tell? Wait, okay. First off, where are the parents? Second, I thought the witch was going to treat her like a daughter. Maybe that's like a witch's daughter, and that's different from like a regular daughter. That's... And why is... Okay, hopefully we'll learn why she's responding to just some non-witch voice. I mean, obviously she wants to get rescued because she doesn't like it up there. The hair fell down and the king's son climbed up it. At first Rapunzel was terrified, for she had never set eyes on a man before. But the king's son talked, so she hadn't even met her father. At first Rapunzel was terrified, for she had never set eyes on a man before. But the king's son talked to her kindly, and told her that his heart had been so deeply touched by her song that he had no peace and was obliged to see her. Then Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked if she would have him for her husband, and she saw that he was young and handsome, she thought, he will love me better than old Mother Gothel. Oh, so that's the witch's name? So she said, wait, she knows what marriage is? I guess stories or something? She's just never seen a man. So she said yes, and laid her hand in his. She said, I will gladly go with you, but I do not know how I am to get down from this tower. I have an idea. When you come, will you bring a skein of silk with you every time? I will twist it into a ladder, and when it is long enough, I will descend by it, and you'd take me away with you on your horse. Okay, I'll share my idea later, I guess, because that wasn't my idea. She arranged with him that he should come back and see her every evening, for the old witch came in the daytime. I mean, I think it would be evening would be a witch's time. The witch, discovering nothing till suddenly Rapunzel said to her, "Tell me, Mother Gothel, how can it be that you are so much heavier to drop than the young prince who will be here before long?" Oh my, why would she say that? "Oh, you wicked child, what do you say? I thought I had separated you from all the world, and yet you have deceived me." In her rage, she seized Rapunzel's beautiful hair, twisted it twice round her left hand, snatched up a pair of shears, and cut off the plaits, which fell to the ground. She was so merciless that she took poor Rapunzel away into a wilderness, where she forced her to live in the greatest grief and misery. That's not a mom. I mean, okay, obviously that's not her mom. That's a witch. In the evening of the day on which she had banished Rapunzel, the witch fastened the plaits which she had cut off to the hook by the window. And when the prince came and called, "Oh, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," she lowered the hair. The prince climbed up, but there he found not his beloved Rapunzel, but the witch, who looked at him with angry and wicked eyes. "Ah," she cried mockingly, "you have come to fetch your ladylove, but the pretty bird is no longer in her nest." And she could sing no more, for the cat has seized her, and it will scratch your own eyes out too. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will never see her again. The prince was beside himself with grief, and in his despair he sprang out of the window. He was not killed, but his eyes were scratched out by the thorns among which he fell. He wandered about blind in the wood, and had nothing but roots and berries to eat. He did nothing but weep and lament over the loss of his beloved wife. Wait, they were married? His beloved wife Rapunzel. Maybe this means wife to be, because they hadn't married yet. In this way he wandered about for some years, till at last he reached the wilderness, where Rapunzel had been living very sadly in great poverty. Some years. Okay, so she could have grown a lot of her hair back too, right? He heard a voice which seemed very familiar to him, and he went towards it. Rapunzel knew him at once and fell weeping upon his neck. Two of her tears fell upon his eyes, and they immediately grew quite clear, and he could see as well as ever. He took her to his kingdom, where he was received with joy, and they lived long and happily together. So he was missing for a couple of years. Where are the parents? Okay, so my idea was that she hadn't. So first, she shouldn't have said anything, but she wasn't very smart because she was locked away, right? Okay, so what would have been a good idea is she didn't need any of that silk at all, but she did need scissors. So if she had him come back on the second day and bring like princely scissors, and what she could have done is she could have tied her hair into a rope, and then tied the top end to the hook at the top of the tower, and then let it down and then climb down. See, that would have been so much better. Would have taken less time. Would have been 2 days to get her out. Just 2 days, maybe 3 if it takes a long time to braid all that hair. But okay.